Hello. Today I'm going to ask the question, how do we integrate with nature? So I have something in mind, a few different sort of feelings I've got when this question first came to me. So I won't elaborate on it now, because let's see what comes through in the channel, just in case my channeling entities decide not to cover the ideas that I have, which happens sometimes. So rather than me say this is what we're going to talk about, then they talk about something different, let me just say we'll see what happens. But what I want to know is, how do we integrate with nature? And the reason that I'm asking this question is because I feel that in this coming decade, the 2020s, part of this awakening ascension process is the realization that we are integrated into larger and larger and larger beings. You may have heard my channels before. There is this concept of the humanity being. So we are the humanity being, and as we ascend to sort of fifth dimensionality, that will actually be the awakening of the humanity being. We are also the earth being, and the reason that we send be all these beings is because it's nested. This principle of nested consciousness. So the consciousnesses of the atoms of your body are nested in the consciousness of your cells, which are nested in the consciousness of you, and you are nested with me and all of us in the consciousness of the humanity being, and the consciousness of the humanity being is nested in the earth being, which is nested in the solar system being, and on and on and on and on and on, until eventually at the most expansive notion of this concept is everything is nested within the one. Okay, so that's why I think this is going to be a decade of integration into our realization that we are the humanity being, and also that we are the earth being. So how do we do that? How do we facilitate that? That's what I want to know. Alrighty. So let's see what we got. So, how do we integrate into nature? Greetings and thank you for the question. How do you integrate into nature? And we take that to mean, how do you integrate into the realization that you are the earth being? So nature and the earth being are used synonymously in this question as we understand it. Let us begin by briefly touching on this concept of the nested consciousness. This is something that we have spoken about a lot in past channels, but it is such a fundamental important principle that we just want you, the viewer now, in case this is the first channel you have seen, to be aware of this principle. And as Murray was briefly describing at the introduction to this channel, this concept of nested consciousness is that there is a fractal quality to existence, and so what occurs at the macro occurs at the micro, and so the one is the ultimate being, and nested within it is all other consciousnesses. And each consciousness within the one, nested within the one, is also a fractal of this, meaning that they are a being in which infinite consciousnesses are nested. Now, we don't want to go into too much detail because we have discussed this a lot, but the implications for this channel is that your consciousness is nested in the earth being. This is the principle we want you to be aware of as it relates to this channel. So, you are nested in the humanity being. So what is occurring on your planet now is there is an awakening to the extra dimensionality, that you are not the mind, the body, the personality. There is something more to you than that. And this more that you are is the humanity being. And the awakening to this realization that you are more than what you can see in the mirror is an awakening to your fifth dimensionality as the humanity being. And as more and more awakened to this, there is going to be the beginning of unbreakable cohesiveness, unification, everything, every aspect of humanity that makes the choice will come to form a single being, the humanity being. You will retain your individuality, yes, but you will also be integrated into the humanity being. And this humanity being is nested in the earth being. And so the continuation of this awakening to larger and larger and larger aspects of self until eventually you awaken in the ultimate completion of the entire purpose as the one. Incrementally, along this path, there is going to be the awakening to the realization that you are the humanity being, as we said, and then also that you are the earth being, that you are nature. So, for this channel, we're going to be talking about the integration into nature, because this awakening to the realization that you are the earth being, that you are a consciousness nested within the humanity being, within the earth being, within the solar system being, etc., is an integration. You are going to be integrated such that you will eventually identify as, in some aspect, as the earth being. So, it is a relevant question because it is something which lay on the path for all humanity. In the process of increasing realization, eventually you will come to a point where it is the realization that you are the earth being. So, to facilitate this process, this awakening, which is the integration, can be done in multiple ways. So we shall discuss some of them in this channel. So, first, shall we say, in this integration into nature, which is for your benefit, it is something to add into your way of being if it isn't already, because there is much therapy or therapeutic effect. There is a strengthening, there is a fortifying of your robustness. You adopt and incorporate a new strength when you are increasingly integrated into nature. You are the earth being. In a very literal sense, you are the earth being, just as a cell of your body is you. The cells of your body, they do not rely on their own individual capacities to be nourished, to be protected, to be functional. Instead, they rely on their integration into the system, into the part of the whole. So even though each cell of your body is an individual consciousness, it does not operate in a state of complete and total independence from the rest of the system. Instead, it is very intricately integrated into the system. And from its integration into the system, it draws its power, its strength, its vitality, its sense of purpose. Through being integrated, it becomes more. And so, this is metaphoric for you also. If you allow yourself to be awakened to your integration into nature, because you are integrated into nature. This is a birthright. It is the inherent state into which you are born, that you are integrated into nature, because you are nature. You're an aspect of nature. You are no less nature than the trees and the flowers and the birds and the clouds in the sky. You are as much a part of nature as those aspects are. And so the tree draws its power through a willful integration into nature. It allows its roots to penetrate deeply into the earth, to draw nutrients. It is exposed to the wind to strengthen it, and to the rain to nourish it. And so from its integration, willfully, into nature, it becomes stronger, just as your cells do. So, if you decide to allow yourself to be realized that you are integrated into nature, because of course you cannot not be integrated into nature. You are an aspect of the earth being. But you can be shut off through your self-belief, through your definition, such that you limit the amount of power you draw from the earth. You are drawing power from the earth at all times. If the earth was to die, you would to die, because you are the same being. You can increase the amount of integration that you receive, the amount of power you receive from the earth, from nature, if you more mindfully and purposefully. Let's take a step back. Let's remove the word mindfully from this, because although the way we mean it is that you are more purposefully integrated, we want to remove this concept of mind. Because mind, if anything, is a barrier between you and integration into nature. So we don't mean it that way. So let's say, if you allow yourself to purposefully integrate into nature, then you are going to be increased in your capacities. Particularly your capacities to be stable, to weather the storm, to be the rock to which others can cling to, for their sense of being grounded, and their sense of being linked to something which is going to have a positive outcome, regardless of the circumstances which are flowing through one's life. This is a quality that you will take on the more that you are integrated into nature. Nature is communicating with you at all times. Nature never stops communicating with you. The earth being communicates with all aspects of itself, just as you communicate with your cells. The cells in your body know what to do. They know what function they have and how to fulfill it, because they are following the communication they receive from you. This communication is a subconscious communication. It is linked to the energy that you emanate. And so when you have a belief system which is very authentic, translucent, and allows you to be authentically present in the moment, because you are allowing the real-time download stream, which is who you are. You are not the mind, the body, the personality. You are the higher self. You are the energetic, the infinite, immortal, the individuation of the love of the one. This is who you are. You are not contained within the body. It would be more accurate to say that you are stored at an off-site location, and you are real-time downloading, streaming into the body. And this real-time download stream is the purity of you. It is the unique, unadulterated essence of who you truly are. And you truly are a being of light, awakened and perfect. And so when this emanation is allowed to, when this download is allowed to emanate unadulterated as presence, then the consequences to the body is that the messages, the vibratory quality, which is essentially the message to your cells, is one of strength and health, vitality, endurance, longevity. So you are communicating with your cells. The earth being, in a similar way, has a vibratory quality. And that vibratory quality is an emanation of its energetic self into the realm which it is, into the biosphere, which includes you and all living organisms. And this energetic quality that it emanates is a source of harmony, peace, tranquility, calmness, strength, a sense that everything is going to be okay. And so, it is available, this energetic frequency, this quality which the earth emanates at all times as a source of nourishment for all forms of existence within its biosphere, which are it, is available for you to draw upon to increase your strength. And as you draw upon it, this is the integration into nature. So there are more, which we will discuss, but this is how we will start, because this is the easiest and this is also the most profound. To become integrated into nature is to become more realized and recognizing that you are nature, that you follow the beat and the hum and the rhythm of nature, because you are nature. So to become more integrated into this energetic emanation, which is offered as your nourishment, then the simplest way is to spend more time in nature. Go to the park, go to the forest, go to the beach, go to wherever it is that nature is accessible. This is a condition for you to easily, or more easily, become integrated into the energy of nature, into the rhythm of the earth. So when you give yourself this opportunity, while you are there, spend some time sitting quietly and allowing the calmness of the earth being to create a harmonic with the self. If you do not spend time in nature often, then your vibration, the cadence of your energetic rhythm will be slightly off. There will be a greater tendency for there to be some incongruency, to be some distortion in the pattern which gives rise to the manifestation of non-peace. Your natural rhythm, your energetic harmony is the energetic harmony of the earth, because you are the earth being, and the earth is pulsating this same rhythm, this same beat eternally, for you to harmonize, for you to continue to be a being in the same sense of tranquil peace, ancient freshness, as the earth being. So in these moments, when you give yourself the opportunity to be in an environment surrounded by nature, allow yourself to melt into the rhythm of the earth. Surrender. Allow the energetic roots of the self to sink deeply into the earth. Imagine that you have an energy field, and that energy field is penetrating deep into the earth, like the roots of a tree. And then you, with a peaceful acceptance, openness, and vulnerability, allow the earth to set your rhythm. You do not need to hear for the rhythm and then try and match it, because you are the earth. And as such, all you need to do is surrender. And if you surrender and give an open invitation to the earth to integrate you into itself through this allowing of the realization that you are the earth, then you shall be integrated into the love and beauty of the earth rhythm. And you shall be integrated into the earth. And consequently, you shall draw the power of peacefulness, of confidence, of assertiveness to the things that you believe, and so on. Next, if you do not have this opportunity to go into nature for this process of integration, you do not need to go deep into the forest or to go to the pristine beach. You can instead simply find something alive in your environment, like a pot plant, or the tree at the window, or the grass at the front of your house. Go to that and spend time just in close proximity to just one representation of nature. And we suggest that you use vegetation, because vegetation is very integrated into the earth rhythm and is easier because it does not have mind as such. It is much easier for you to be integrated into the earth rhythm because it is very consistently across all of vegetation matched in its cadence, in this rhythm, reflected. So do this same thing. As we said, when you go deep into nature, instead, if you don't have this opportunity, find the pot plant, find the tree, find the little patch of grass, and do a similar process. Now, even this is not necessary. Although it is helpful and is more useful, the pulsation of the earth is everywhere. It cannot be escaped. If you are within the earth's energetic field, then you are subject to the energetic pulsation that it gives to you as its gift. Your birthright, being incarnated on the earth, is to be a recipient of its infinite, ongoing, unceasing love expressed to you in part through this vibratory pulsation. The beating heart, drenching you with its love. You can be sitting in a tower, a skyscraper, in an office devoid of any vegetation, and still you can connect to this energy quality of the earth and allow yourself to integrate and become harmonic with the earth vibration through your surrender. Mother Earth, I love you, I appreciate you, I understand that I am you. And so I surrender in open vulnerability to the rhythm of your loving heart. Thank you. This small ritual can be done on the 50th floor of a high-rise tower in a room devoid of natural lighting, devoid of anything which is living other than the other people who are in there with you or yourself. And the connection still can be made. But of course, it is better to be close to something which is vegetation or to be in nature itself, deeply. However, we offer this process to you so that you don't put it off. I will connect with nature when I get into nature. Because if you do not get into nature until much later than you would like, then there is this period where you have not been accessing your birthright. So there's no point in doing that. Access the birthright of your integration into nature today. Nature calls to you. The earth being sings your name day after day after day. The earth being wants your integration. It wants you to awaken to the realization that you are part of its love. And as all humans do it increasingly, eventually what will happen is the earth will be covered with a highly intelligent species which will begin to act as the earth's sentience. Humans will begin to behave as part of the human organism, because they will clear the trash, clean the oceans, recover the rivers, increase the forests, protect the animals, the insects. All of the living world will be treated with a custodial reverence by the human field, by the humanity being. And can you see, when this occurs, the humanity being, humanity could be said at that point to be awakened that it is the earth being, because it is the earth being protecting, preserving, recovering itself. through its sentience, which is placed in the highest intellect beings, the most evolved beings, on its surface. This is integration. This is humanity realizing it is the earth being. In this process of integration into the realization that you are the earth being, that humanity is an aspect of the earth being, will mean that some people will have a more shamanic function. So ultimately, as humanity awakens, every human shall be a shaman, because every human will be able to communicate directly with the earth and receive from the earth direction, purpose, objective. And at this time, all people on the earth will be shamanic, because they will be able to communicate directly, two ways, with the earth, with nature. In the beginning stages, there will be those who are more shamanic than others, those who are more expressed, more developed in their capacity to communicate with the earth. And this will be reflective of the rising of the feminine in all of the human field. It is not a suppression of the masculine, but is a return to balance between the masculine and the feminine. So the very early human was very integrated into its awareness that it was the earth being, that it was an aspect of nature. And at that time there was very ritualized and purposeful communication with the earth, because it was essential to the continuation. For the survival of a community of humans, it was essential that it had a very clear understanding of the earth being, of what nature had in mind, of what nature suggested, intended. And so there were those in the community who were gifted in their capacity to communicate directly with the earth, and then offer to the community guidance on what is the most viable option laying ahead. Because at this time, when humans were nomadic and society and civilization was undeveloped, single decisions could be impactful enough to end communities if the wrong decision was made. And so there was great reverence given to those who had the capacity to communicate with the earth in a way to receive information which could give them the advantage of making decisions which would continue the success of the community, so they would not perish through perhaps staying in the wrong place at the wrong time, eating the wrong foods, misinterpreting the weather, not shifting to follow the seasons of abundance, and so on. These people who had this ability were primarily women, because it is the feminine. The earth energy is the feminine. And it was the feminine of these communities who were very awakened in their ability to communicate with the earth, and so they were shamanic. And then they received their information from the earth, and then they shared this information with the community leaders, who were more masculine, who were the ones who led the expeditions, led the hunting, that led the migration of a community from one location to another. So the men led the communities under the advisement of the female shaman. So communicating with the earth is an aspect of femininity. And as we watch the awakening of the human being, we see there is a shift back towards a place of balance, having separated from this more feminine inclination towards the domination of the mind as civilizations were built and humans realised they needed to rely on nature less because now they could control nature in a sense. They could build houses to protect them from the elements. They could plant crops, grow animals to give them abundance regardless of location. They didn't have to move. More and more the mind came into play. And the mind was the rise of the masculine. And the reliance on being in communication with Mother Earth became less significant. And so this was a diminishment of the feminine. The shaman lost its relevance. And so there was a passing through this period of intense mind, of intense masculinity, the elevation of the masculine, the minimization of the feminine. But this era is also now coming to an end, and there is a return to balance where there will be an equal balance between the masculine and the feminine. And the feminine does not imply that it is an increasing in the power of women alone. It means that it is an increasing of the feminine energy in all aspects of humanity, men and women. So it is not about male and female. It is about the energy of masculinity, the energy of femininity, the yin and the yang, coming to a place of balance. And so as you integrate into nature, there is the opportunity to be more shamanic. And there will be those, and there already are, who are very shamanic in their inclination. Some are women, some are men, but in both there is a recognition of the feminine. Not at the expense of the masculine, but to bring about a balance. So, this shamanic quality, which will be a form of guidance for all of the larger humanity to integrate into nature, can be enhanced through the consumption of certain living organisms which nature has placed in itself, such that it is part of the awakening of the sentience of the highest life form on the planet, so that sentience can be incorporated into the earth being, so that it now becomes much more effective in monitoring, nurturing, protecting, growing itself in the biosphere, because this highest expression of itself is now awakened and has become the sentience of the earth. The human being protecting itself, which is protecting the earth, because it now realizes it is the earth. And so there are substances which nature has placed into its biosphere to increase this awakening, to make people more shamanic, so that they can be more communicative with the earth and facilitate, bring about this ultimate integration where the humanity being becomes the sentience of the planet. So these substances include things like marijuana, psilocybin, DMT, ibogaine. There are many of these substances which have been placed into the biosphere, and they are available for those who choose, who wish to be more shamanic, to be more in harmony and integrated into the earth being, to communicate with the earth being. it has been available, these substances, for these people. There is a subculture on your planet of people who consume these substances, and that subculture could be said to be divided into two different groups. One group that does it recreationally, with no thought to using these substances in a way which is shamanic, which is to increase their awareness of integration into the earth being, to stimulate and awaken the feminine, to give them balance so that they can spread this awakening. And then there are those who do it for those reasons. So, if you are watching this, and it is a desire of you to be more integrated into nature, if you feel a calling, if you feel that there is a message coming from the earth which you can't quite hear, but you wish to be in full recognition of what that message is, then these substances which have been placed into the biosphere are available to you as an option, such that it uncorks your shamanic abilities, and you can begin to have a greater realization, a more expansive realization of self. And that expansive realization of self is inevitably going to be inclusive of integration into the nature being, the earth being, because you are this being. Now, we do not make the recommendation that you go and consume these substances. This is not the purpose of this transmission. We are not saying either that you should not. We are saying that these substances are available for this purpose of awakening and becoming more shamanic, so you can communicate with the Mother Earth, the earth being, not as a visitor or a guest or a being that is being hosted, but as an aspect of the being that's communicating with you. The earth being communicating with an aspect of itself, which is you. These substances are available for this to occur. So it is your choice. If you do choose to participate in the consumption of these substances so that you may have the shamanic experience, we ask that you do it with reverence. We ask that you do it with the intention to sink your roots into the heart of nature, so that you can become a expression of a larger being, which you already are. And then, when you come from this experience, it has concluded, and you return back to a state of normal lucidity, we ask again that you be reflective in your energy, in the way that you are from that moment forward, of the new understanding, of the shamanic awakening, your greater enhanced appreciation that you are part of the larger. And so those who are in your life, treat them with a sense of greater integration, of greater connectiveness, of greater cohesion and unity. And all aspects of nature, treat them also with greater reverence, greater appreciation, and a greater recognition that you are nature. You do not end and it begins. You are nature. Just as the bird flies through the sky, it does not have visible roots in the earth. It appears to be a separate being. However, it is fully integrated into nature. It is nature. So you are also the rootless aspect of nature. But the misnomer here is that while there are no visible roots, energetically you are fully rooted, integrated into the energy field of the earth being, just as the flying eagle is. When the eagle is high above the earth's surface, its energy field still descends deeply into the earth itself. There is never disconnection. It is always connected energetically to the earth reaching out to the soaring eagle, and the soaring eagle reaching deeply into the earth. You have this same integration. In conclusion, let us say that the inevitable place humanity will find itself is a being fully integrated into nature, such that the sentience of the humanity being will be the sentience of the earth being. Fully awakened. And this culmination is going to be an enhancement of the humanity being, of each individual within the humanity being, greater in its capacities for all things which are conducive to love, which reside in love. Wisdom, power, peace, love. All of these aspects will be profoundly enhanced when this integration has become very prominent. So we make this point because if you begin the integration now, purposefully, then you will begin to tap into and draw upon this increased capacity. So, it is not necessary to wait until sometime in the future when it seems to be time to begin this integration process, to becoming part of nature. Begin today. Visit nature today. Think of nature today if you do not have the opportunity to go there. And when you contemplate nature, do it in a state of open surrender and total vulnerability, trusting in the loving harmony of the earth to give you all of the nourishment that you require. The earth knows exactly what it is that you need, because you are the child of Mother Earth. Trust her, be open to her, love her, and become part of the eternal rhythm and pulsation of her love. Mother Earth loves you. We love you. And we thank you.